I see the room is filling up. It's filling up. We love it. We love it. We love it. And if you are interested in having a house party, feel free, reach out to me. I'm the National Outreach Coordinator, and we are in 10 states, but we can go stream in any city. You guys are from everywhere, I know that. So reach out to me, Brisha, at 1kwwomenstrong.com. Again, that's BRISHA at 1kwwomenstrong.com. If you're interested in hosting one of these rooms, you want to get a group of friends together, you want us to come in and share with you, speak with you, share what's going on in this climate so we can just start to build. If you want someone to come and speak with us, if you want to connect. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities. And I think Aja will be taking over here shortly.
Hello, welcome everyone. So I am Aja Gaddy. I am our outreach director, and just wanted to thank you all. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Again, as Dr. Brisha said, please send this invite to friends and family. These are our family time, our talks and our conversations with each other. And one thing, we are an organization that is where Black women, I'm not sure, you can't see my shirt probably, where Black women meet and where Black women are. So we will build those rooms. If the rooms are not being built, then we will build those rooms. And as Dr. Brisha just spoke about, we have things called house parties where you too can get in building those rooms. So please make sure you reach out to our staff for things of that sort. If you are new to 1K Women Strong, welcome to the family. We are an organization that employs, trains, and fights for Black women, especially in policy. We also do community outreach and civic training. So please feel free to go to our website. I will drop that in the link. Feel free to, in the chat. Feel free to go to our website. If you have your own organization and you would like for us to come out and maybe represent just as a table or as speakers, feel free to contact myself, and I'll also put that information in the chat, right? So tonight is a special night, right? We get to sit, listen, and take in our Black legacy, right? And giving those flowers and being able to sit under those whose shoulders we stand on while they are still here. And in the climate that is going on today, I think it's time that we need to actually hear the resilience and the passion that our seniors had, and remember that we have fought of many fights, and that this does not mean that we're going to stop. And also to understand that you might think, hey, who am I in this city, this town? But you yourself can be a person who pushes forward, right? A person who helps out, a person who gets into their community and do great things. They say it's, individual, everyday people who end up doing great things that make such a big influence in our community and in our culture. And we just want to thank each and every single one of you as we're here. And we are going to go in. We don't want to hold up anything. We want to, get right into it as we get to listen to Dr. Opal Lee and her granddaughter as they speak in regards to their passion and passing on the torch of moving forward and how we got to where we got to today, where Juneteenth is an actual national holiday. All right. So sit back, sip your tea. The chat is open. We will have Q&A a little later. So get your questions together. If you have any questions or comments that you would like to say directly to Dr. Lee and her granddaughter, Dione Simms. But right now we're going to start and open up with a nice video that will help you kind of lay the land of what we're about to speak about. All right.
Never too old to try to do good. Tonight, we want to introduce you to Opal Lee, the 93-year-old activist and lifelong Texan who has campaigned to make June 19th a national holiday for years.
If you tell her that you have a need, she's going to meet it. And she's going to go to anybody that she can think of that can meet that need.
But she figures out how to do it, and she stays with it until she gets it done.
If we were to document all those differences, all those times that she's made a difference, we would run out of paper with Opal Lee.
She really is what a tapestry of community work looks like at 94.
She's a trailblazer, and she has this sense of you keep going no matter what.
What heroism is someone that goes over and above, all right, the call of duty to do something for someone else.
I'm Opal Lee. I've had these passions.
The community food bank.
Opal's Farm.
United Riverside.
And one of them is Juneteenth.
She got here in 1939. They were able to buy the house on Annie Street. It was a white area of town. They were at home, and the mob came on June 19th to put them out of their house. It had to be the catalyst that made Juneteenth so important to her, that on this day that we're supposed to be celebrating freedom from slavery, that her house gets demolished, burnt up by an angry white mob that doesn't want them in that neighborhood.
Their family stayed here. She's made freedom the celebration instead of focusing on the oppression.
If you don't understand where you've been, then you don't know where you're going. They had the idea to bring back having a Juneteenth celebration to make sure that, we don't forget to celebrate.
There's folks coming together. There's good food.
There were fireworks in the streets.
She's been doing Juneteenth for over 45 years.
As a kid, felt like to me it was about the celebration, and as an adult, it's more about what I've learned about Juneteenth through celebrating Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is more than a Texas thing. Juneteenth needs to be celebrated across the country, and she felt that if a little old lady, almost 90, because she was 89 at the time, started walking to DC, someone would take notice.
Did a lot of walking on it, and made a lot of stops in a lot of cities.
We created a petition for Juneteenth to be a national holiday on change.org.
Social media and all the social media platforms, word gets out.
She's building for people and with people. You can't stop that. You can't stop love. You know what I mean? And why would you want to?
Lupita from Black Panther, Usher, Bernie Sanders, Danny Glover, Nico Brim.
I am moved, probably as many people are, by her strength, but I think I'm more moved by her humanity.
She'll tell you, none of us are free until we're all free, and we're not free yet.
This is our town and we live here. Then what are we going to make a stand for? What are we going to improve? How are we going to help people?
You can do something right now in your own community and impact one life, one stomach, one education.
Opal's a legend, period, in our community, and the world's better off because of her, Fort Worth especially. And I'm hoping people, if they don't learn anything else about me, will know to help somebody else. I just hope that will happen.
Is that it? So I am Dione Simms. I am Miss Opal's granddaughter. And who are you?
Opal Lee. I'm the grandmother of Juneteenth.
And we want to thank 1000 Women Strong for inviting us to kick off their Black History Month as a part of this podcast and a part of this time together. And I think one of the overarching goals that they had was to know how you got started, what motivated you. So can you tell them about what Juneteenth was like when you were little? Let's start there.
Oh, when I was a little one, Juneteenth was celebrated at the fairground in Marshall, Texas, there would be music and food, there'd be speeches and food, there'd be all kinds of activities and food and food and food and food. When we moved to Fort Worth, not so much. People celebrated Juneteenth with their families, but Swalla had a Juneteenth in tiny little Sycamore Park. There were 30,000 people in a 3-day period, 10,000 people a day. And did we have fun?
And I remember you saying that that was back in the 70s when they brought that back. So you've been doing Juneteenth now almost 50 years or over 50 years, because the original group, you and Dr. Masters are the only two left that started back in the 70s when you guys brought that back. When you were 12 and you guys moved here from Marshall, matter of fact, on the land that we're sitting in today, something traumatic happened on Juneteenth. You want to tell them about it?
Yeah. My father had bought this house at 940 East Annie Street. And we'd been there several days, and people would gather outside. But on the 19th of June, the newspaper says there was 500 of them. And the police were there. And my dad came from work, he had a gun. But the police told him if he busted a cap, they'd let the mob have us. Our parents sent us to friends several blocks away, and they left under cover of darkness. Those people tore the house asunder. They pulled the furniture out and burned it. They did despicable things. But our parents never, ever discussed it with us. Never, ever. And so here, full circle, I have this beautiful home at 940 East Annie Street. Habitat for Humanity and so many others have put together this home for me. And it is fully furnished down to the food in the refrigerator. I tell you.
It was nice when we did the ribbon cutting here for Juneteenth this 2024, seeing you do come full circle and what was meant to destroy your family, because it really could have caused you at 12 years old to have bitterness seep down in your heart, but out of it really came a desire to help people.
Yeah, and there's so many who need help. Even now, there are homeless people and there are old people who are hungry. And do you know, the mayor of Fort Worth has taken some 90 of 290 homeless people, and she's placing them in houses, and she's finding jobs for them, and they're getting health care for them, and they're going to see how that works. And if they can't help the rest of them, I am so proud.
But that's like what you've done kind of all your life. You are a humanitarian. Before you were the grandmother of Juneteenth, you were a humanitarian. So you were an educator first, and you were a third grade educator, 8-year-olds, right?
Oh, I taught 8-year-olds so long I was beginning to act like them. But yes, and seeing children come to school hungry, you have to do something about that. Well, they didn't have proper clothing. And then there are people who didn't have a place to stay. So if you could, and I could, and I did, find some solutions to those problems.
And that followed you after you retired. I mean, it was kind of like stamped across your forehead. If you need help, call Opal Lee. And so with that, you became the go-to person in the community. You were the go-to person.
And people needed food. We started a food bank. And do you know, it burned. Well, there was this huge complex behind the house I lived in Riverside, and I had nerve enough to ask for it. They leased it to us for $4,000 a month. Do you know we paid it? And the month we didn't have the money, they gave us that facility, $1,400,000. And it's still in operation.
It is. Matter of fact, you take food twice a month to the elderly, all right, and the sick and the shut in, or at least you have it delivered. We won't say you deliver it personally. Now, 1K Women Strong is a grassroots organization that's wanting to get women involved in the political sphere, right? Into getting people elected, about taking care of the needs in the communities as they come up, and putting together programs and services, and being a sounding board, being a place where people can come to get the information on who to vote for. When you were younger, who got you on phone banks, and got you so politically motivated?
I'm not really sure who that was, but I know I did some phone banking, and I know it was extremely important. But have you mentioned the fact that we had to pay a poll tax to vote, $1.75 each time? And gee, times were hard. And I had to make the decision to pay my poll tax or have food for my family. I gritted my teeth and I paid the poll tax, but we never missed a meal.
No, matter of fact, what was it? Apple holes and cornbread that Uncle Thomas said that y'all ate, but still. But you've always been, I think, politically motivated because you knew that policy affected families. And today you're even at 98, a precinct chair, working the polls. And so I think one of the things that I admire at most is that you got me connected, and wanting to serve. And then I got my daughter, serving and working the polls as well. And so that is a place where we can start seeing the process at work, right? Is actually getting in, and you don't have to work on a campaign, but just work on getting people out to vote. And I think that is one of the things that we did this summer with 1K Women Strong is we had house parties. Mm-hmm. We invited people to come over and we went with Miss Brescia and we talked. We had one at a winery. We had one here at your house. We had one at the Federated Women's Clubs, wherever folks wanted to kind of gather, right? And kind of talk about what it is. But ever since that election's over, it didn't quite go the way we wanted it to go, right? But there's other elections coming up, right? I mean, there's city elections, school board elections, the midterm elections are coming up. So it's not a time to just put our heads down and say, well, I tried, right? Got to keep going.
That's true. And so I want to mention to the young people, I've written a book. It's called Juneteenth for Children. And I want you to get a copy because you might learn something yourself about Juneteenth.
Well, when you were young, all right, and you were here in Texas, how did you start thinking about Juneteenth as a national holiday? Who put that seed in your head?
I don't remember who did, but I decided if I walked from Fort Worth to Washington, D.C., somebody would take notice. So I started out.
Well, I think it was Dr. Ronald Myers, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Dr. Myers, was he somebody who wanted Juneteenth to be a national holiday? And he worked untiringly to make that happen. So maybe a little bit of it rubbed off on me.
I remember when you started your walk in 2016, and someone had promised us an RV that we could go from Fort Worth to DC, 2.5 miles in the morning, 2.5 in the evening, to represent the 2.5 years, right, that it took for enforcement to come to Texas. And somebody rescinded That already.
But it didn't stop us.
It didn't. You know what we did? We called Doc. We called Doc and said, Doc, look, what do we do? And he says, you know what? I'm going to call all of the Juneteenth state directors and have them invite you to come out. And that's when we made it from a walk going mile to mile to going wherever you were invited in the Juneteenth Nation.
And it turned out that we got to DC just as we had planned. I tell you.
You walked in Arkansas, Little Rock, St. Louis. Coffee had you in South Carolina. You walked in North Carolina. And Brenda Page Ward had you in Selma. And as well as we walked in Atlanta. We were in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. I mean, you were all over, walking 2.5 miles at 90 years old. And so when you got to DC,
President Obama was gone.
I told you he was going to be gone.
But it didn't stop us. We kept right on.
We did. 2019, Bernie Sanders reached out to you and you started back up again. And we started following the Democratic conventions. We did Detroit, Houston with Sam Collins, Atlanta again, and with Dee, and Las Vegas.
Yes.
And you saw President Biden in Las Vegas.
I did. And I got a hold to his hand. And I wouldn't turn it loose. And bless his heart, he had to shake everybody else's hand with it left to him. I was trying so hard.
I remember you talking about being in Durham, North Carolina, and hearing that President Obama was going to be coming and stomping for Hillary.
Oh, wow. And so I thought it was going to be right there in this church that I had made my way to. But they had it in an open field across the way from the church. It was like it was in a boxing ring. And so I stood just knowing that he was going to come on that side where I was. I stood for hours. I think if I had sat down, I never would have got up. And sure enough, he did make his way around to where I was. And I was able to put some material in his pocket, and the people with him took it, you know. But hey, I got to talk to the president of the United States.
It's amazing that the Secret Service didn't jump over the line and get you while you trying to put paper in the man's pocket. They could have had anthrax on it. They didn't know. But you've had a great run of this, but I think that one of the things that's really important about Juneteenth, especially in this climate today, with the new administration trying to undo all the things that are culturally significant, right? Not just for African Americans, but, not letting the government, celebrate Black History Month as an observance, or Hispanic Heritage Month, or Asian Island Pacific, or, Women's History Month,
yes.
And those things. But the thing that's neat is that Juneteenth is a national holiday. Juneteenth is a national, so you can't rescind that. It wasn't one of the things y'all were trying to get Obama to do, was to make it an executive order. God said no, right? And then I know the NJOF was wanting it to be a day of observance, right? Just get it on the calendar. And if that had happened, it would be a part of the ones that they can observe, right? Mm-hmm. So it being a national holiday is important, because all over this country, we can continue, even in federally, government places, celebrate Juneteenth. Now, whether they get to or not is a different story. But I think that what was neat was inside the memo that did come out from the Defense Intelligence Agency that came out, there was this asterisk that said federal holidays are not affected by the pause. And that's what we are. We are a federal holiday. Let's do a transition. What about what's happening here in Fort Worth?
Well,
we've got a museum.
I mean, and it's a national museum, and it's going to be for everybody. And of course, we were on the little corner of Rosedale and Evans, and we have been able to acquire so much more land. And I think right now it will be facing 35. I am so proud of what has happened, and it's going to have so much in it. I tell you,
Aja, can we pull those up, those images up? So when Jared came to ask you, well, you asked and talked to Jared about what it is he wanted, and he wanted a center, all right, because it started out as just being a small little center on the land that you own, because you said that he could use your land. And it was, going to have a theater. It was going to have a place and an incubator for businesses and restaurants and housing and retail space. But it has grown, as they can see on the thing, to being a $70 million facility, state of the art, that's going to have space for the community, as well as a food hall. And places where young businesses can get started, and a theater. And it's based off of the Juneteenth star. So right now, the picture that they're showing right there, the opening is the supernova of the Juneteenth star. And so it's going to be a national Juneteenth museum for everybody, all right, to come, not just Texas history, all right, but all of the states that have emancipation celebrations and artifacts. We're asking and we're curating a place where it can be state of the art with interactive exhibits as well as artifacts to tell the story. All right, Juneteenth, because Juneteenth means what?
freedom.
Freedom.
I mean, and it's celebrated from the 19th of June to the 4th of July.
Yes, it is. And so I think one of the really important things about Juneteenth is it's more than red soda water and barbecue.
Indeed, it is.
Okay.
And to have people understand how General Gordon Granger read that proclamation that said all slaves are free. And then he nailed it to the door of Reedy Chapel, African Methodist Episcopal Church. And when slaves came in and somebody read that to them, they started celebrating, and we've been celebrating ever since.
But you know what, Granddaughter? Juneteenth has got to transition from being about freedom from slavery to about being freedom in every area of our lives.
That's true. We're
Okay.
not free yet.
We're not free yet, right? So that's mentally. That means mental health, right? That means financial freedom, not being in debt more than you make, being human trafficking.
Oh.
Right? People not their passports being kept, right? And not allowing them to move freely about the country. So Juneteenth's freedom is not just from chattel slavery, all right? It's not an overt operation now. Now we have to worry about that subterfuge underneath, keeping people down, suppressing people. And so we've got to give people voice to that freedom. And hopefully Juneteenth can be that avenue for them.
And I'm so sure that that's what's going to happen, that I'm going to talk to the president who's there now. In fact, I've written a letter.
You did.
So I'm hoping he answers me, and we can get together and I can show him and tell him what needs to be done.
I think that one thing that you are is you're not about race. You're not about stature. You're not about punching it to someone. You've always been about unity. You've always been about being able to do things together, right? And I think that's the beauty of the humanity of who you are.
Well, I'm gonna keep on walking and keep on talking until somebody listens.
You know what? You said that, and I remember when you told me in 2016, after we just finished doing a whole month of Juneteenth celebration, that you wanted to walk to DC. And I remember telling you after I checked with Dad to make sure to make sure I wasn't going to get in trouble for helping you do this, being in your bonnet. But I remember telling you when we were in Atlanta and we were walking on the college campuses there, that when it came time for Juneteenth to be made a law, that you would be there. And you were.
Indeed. And so, this being my 99th year, I hope to be around when it has actually been accepted in these United States and all over the world.
But that's what we're trying to do with your walks, matter of fact, as they cue up this video, I want you guys to see, we've been doing her walks since the pandemic. Matter of fact, I mean, she started in 2016 and walked across the country. But when the pandemic happened, we started doing them annually for Juneteenth. And that very first one, over 300 cars followed behind her, walking it 2.5 miles. And then we had one, and that was in 2020. 2021, the bill was signed. I got the call from the White House to have you at the White House the next day for the signing of the bill. And then we came all the way back home and still walked because I was tired. And I asked on the train, could we put you in a golf cart? And you said no. So that was going to be your victory lap. And then we did one in 22, 23, and then of course 24. And so this year we got another one. And so Aja, can you cue that video up? And we want you guys to join us for the walk.
Today, if it weren't for Miss Opal Lee and declaring today a national holiday.
By making Juneteenth a federal holiday, all Americans can feel the power of this day and learn from our history.
Juneteenth represents freedom, and it's freedom for everybody. It was because of her work, her perseverance, her walk.
Juneteenth is a holiday. That means your kids will study this in school.
Making this a teachable moment for future generations and the current generation.
I want everybody to know we've still got so much to do. I'm looking forward to that time when we're one nation. We are all Americans.
All men are created equal, and we as a people are better together. Forever fighting with the will of my forefathers, we can go farther, but first we must go harder. For change. Humanity, please stand with me. Will you pledge to learn the scripture of one's soul before judging their cover?
Dallas! Do you want to hear from our mother? Mother Opal Lee!
She's walked for miles and miles, literally and figuratively, to see that this day came.
July 4th freed the land. Juneteenth freed the people.
Because we all agree. When we raise our hands together like this, we transcend race.
If people have been taught to hate, they can be taught to love. And it's up to you.
So we walk 2.5 miles every Juneteenth, and we start at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. The West Coast walks with us at 7. They get up early to do it, and on the East Coast they walk with us at 10. And what we are asking folks to do is to join us either virtually. You can walk with us and post it on your social media, Instagram. We want to break the internet on Juneteenth. Right now, this nation needs Juneteenth because it is a national holiday. And folks need to understand that it's more than just freedom from slavery. That's our past. We've got to make sure that we don't lose our freedoms just here in America. Even in the last 2 weeks, what's happening. So we've got to make sure that if you want to, please go to opalswalk.com and you can register. We've got cities coming on board to do hosted branded Opal's Walk. If you're in a city and you think that you'd want to host a walk, where people can come and walk the 2.5 miles with you. Just contact us on opalswalk.com. Detroit is already on board. Chicago says that they're going to do one. We've got Virginia is looking at it. And so what we want people to do is all across this country to walk with us, show them that we are not going back. Juneteenth, I tell people like this all the time, Granddaughter, the first 4 years that it was a holiday, the wind was in our sails, pushing us forward. These next 4 years, we don't have to row. We have to row just so that we stay where we are and then fight against the current to make some progress. So we cannot give up. We can't put our head in the sand and say, let's just see what happens. We got to be out there. And that's why I really appreciate 1K Women Strong, because they're out there every day trying to make a difference in the lives of women, which, and again, if you affect a woman, you affect the world, because women rule the world. And so we really just want to thank you guys for giving us this opportunity to share Juneteenth, and to thank all the people, because what did you say? It's not a me thing.
No, it's a we thing. And that means everybody, not just Opal. Everybody has a part to play in making this a national holiday.
And celebrating it national.
That's true.
And I think one thing final point I want to make is that I remember my daughter, 27 at the time, was saying, Mom, you're giving our holiday away. You always give our holiday away. And it's about Black people. Remember, Juneteenth does celebrate our culture, our heritage, but you can't block people from celebrating the freedom that it represents. So you've got to allow it to be inclusive, so that we highlight the allies that help people get under the Underground Railroad to the north, the Puritans, the Quakers, the abolitionists, white, Black, and different, who just wanted to help humanity, right. All right, escape slavery. And then the Southern Underground Railroad into Mexico, right? That the Mexicans who gave asylum to the slaves when they escaped out of Texas. Matter of fact, Sam Houston, who's known, revered in Texas, father of Texas, tried to come and get his slaves out of Mexico, and they would not let them go, right, when the slave catchers came. So we've got to let people find themselves in the Juneteenth story. Yes, it is about our heritage, our history, but we didn't do it by ourselves.
That's true.
We didn't do it by ourselves. So supporting and giving people permission, if I can say that, to help us celebrate and lead with Juneteenth. Lead. It's a tool that God gave us at this time. And I thank God for you still being here, all right, for weaving your life, the tapestry of your life. That's something that was meant to bring harm to you, did not cause harm, but it's been what you've allowed, all right, your life to bring people together. So 1K, thank you. You got the final things you want to say?
Oh, I just want everybody to be aware that we're in this together. And so pass it on. Don't keep it to yourself. Let's celebrate Juneteenth together.
Together. Brisha, Aja, back to you.
That was amazing. I laughed, I wept, and I saw a lot of reflections of myself, honestly. And I got to correct you on one thing, Dione. You said we were trying to make a difference. Now we're making a difference. And every day. And right. And thank you guys for making a difference every day. Thank you, Dr. Lee. On behalf of everybody that's on this call, we are so grateful for everything that you do daily. We understand and we know that somebody sat on a bus before Rosa Parks. But we remember Rosa Parks. And so we know a lot of people moving around and doing it. We've all worked collectively, but you have made Juneteenth everything that it is. You are the grandmother, and we are so grateful. And with this organization and with what needs to be done, and with your heart, the way you have your heart, and with every person that jumped on this call today, we understand and we accept your clarion call. And I speak for my org, and my org will speak along with me, that we are serious about this work in this time. We are serious about people and really getting it done. We are serious about being in rural areas where there's nobody to support those people. We are serious about that, and we connect. We have been divinely aligned and connected with people with like-minded souls and spirits. So we are grateful for that. So we hope that everybody going forward that are called to these calls are truly called to these calls. And so for that, I just say, just thank you. And we thank you. We're going to open it up. I know, but we can open it up. And I'm going to jump off. Aja, can you take over just a bit for the Q&A, please?
Okay, some questions for you.
Oh, God, and I can't hear.
Dione, could you go ahead and grab your phone, and you can take a look at the questions too. And if we have time, we can start with selecting maybe two, and we can move forward.
You're gonna have to read them from there, because I didn't log in, so I can't see anything.
Okay, no worries. So I'll just let me go to the chat. How old was Dr. Lee when her home burned?
How old were you?
I was about 12 years old.
12. Okay. Let's see.
26. So yeah, you would have been 13 in October. So yeah, she was 12.
Okay. Were her parents or anybody else in her lineage political?
Did anybody in your family before you serve? Your grandpa was a community activist.
Yes. My grandfather was a Baptist minister in Texarkana, Arkansas. And when he spoke, you thought it was E.F. Hutton. And the people in his neighborhood followed. Grandpa was an activist. He just didn't know it.
Okay, and then here's the question. Was there a National Juneteenth observation role with Dr. Lee?
Was there a National Juneteenth observation role?
Yes.
R-O-L-E?
R-O-L-E. It's how it's spelled, by Mrs. Willie Williams.
So Miss Opal is a member of the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation. And when she met Doc Myers in '97, I believe she went to Ontario, California. Because I remember thinking, you went to Canada to go to a Juneteenth, but it was Ontario, California. And she had him, and she met him there, but she had him come to Fort Worth in 1999. But she's been on the board of the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation since that time. And Doc, who has, 43? 43 of the states that before Juneteenth was made a holiday, Doc helped them to get state observances of Juneteenth. So again, there were people, Miss Lula Biggs, who is Lula Briggs, started with the whole National Juneteenth campaign. And Doc, got it from her and built the NJOF, and Granddaughter just took it over the line. I like to call her the straw that broke the camel's back. So many people, right, that were a part of making Juneteenth a national holiday. And she is the oldest living board member of NJOF, but she was the straw that broke the camel's back, getting it over that hurdle.
I love that. There's another question in the chat. How can we best get started doing community work that makes an impact? I'm sorry.
How can they get started doing community work that makes an impact?
You go to church, there are church people, there are people in your community. You know somebody who needs something, so introduce yourself and help them out. If you didn't do anything but babysit while the mom got a job, if you could take an elderly person to the store, there's so many ways that we can help.
All you have to do is put your hand to the plow. There is something to do always. So it doesn't take an organization. It just takes you. What's your thing, Brenda? Make yourself a what? A committee of one. Make yourself a committee of one to just decide to do something, to impact somebody's life. You know what? Giving somebody a smile could pull somebody from the brink. You know, because they said if somebody doesn't see me today, I'm gonna go and kill myself. And all for you to acknowledge them, and it pulls them back. So activism is just that, action. Do something.
Yes. Okay, let's see if there are any more questions. Is there anything specific you may want to cover? What do you guys have in the plans next? What's next for Dr. Lee?
Well, we're still working on Opal's Farm. We didn't talk about Opal's Farm, but out of one of the outreaches from the food bank came Opal's Farm. You want to talk about that?
Oh, it's on the bank of the Senator River, and we don't have a water problem at all. You got to know when there was a storm and fish washed up on the bank, we had all the protein we needed for our farm.
We just turned it over in the compost. But we're working on a program to help those that are returning citizens who were previously incarcerated, so that we can reduce recidivism and help them to find value in what they did in the system in working Texas farms. So we're working with Tarleton State University to build a degree program for them and find them employment that they can be proud of. And so their time served isn't time wasted. And of course, we've got, Juneteenth, we've got a whole full month of things. We got the Miss Juneteenth pageant. I do hope that, across the country, if there are young ladies in other states and you have a Juneteenth pageant, please participate in it because it is very enriching and it helps to cement what Juneteenth means for the younger generation. When the older ones, extension off, all right, it's going to be us younger folks that have got to carry it forward. So them participating in the Miss Juneteenth pageants across the country is one of the ways to do that. And we, of course, have, our winter programs for Secret Santa. We help grandparents raising their grandkids here in Fort Worth. And so there's a lot that Unity Unlimited does. But, my thing right now is making sure my grandmother lets everybody know, being connected to her so that our message of Juneteenth being freedom for everybody is heard over the noise, right, of what's, being pushed on the American people right now.
Absolutely. Thank you. And as you said, being forwarded into a different generation. Well, this generation, believe it or not, is comprised of women under 40. We're all under 40. No, I'm the oldest one here, but they're 40. They're under 40 or barely over if they are. But we definitely cater to, under 40. We have an ambassadors program that I'm actually piloting. We're putting that together. That's going to be incredible. We already have a fellows program that is phenomenal. It's led by our amazing director, Aja, and they learn so much. They do so much. And especially now in this climate and us gleaning behind Dr. Lee and taking on that attitude of servitude and gratitude, there's so many people that we can infect and everything that we're just getting ready to do. And I'm not going to keep going because I can, and it just boils because I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be a part of 1K, that they have allowed me to be in this season, in this earth with them, because I know God does not make mistakes. That's what I know as I move about this earth. So anyway, guys, so thank you, Dr. Lee. Thank you, Dione. We are so glad you guys joined us and shared this space with us. You have watered us. You have watered everybody on this call, and we just want to become the oak tree that you have been for all of us. So thank you so much. This applause is from everybody. I hope you guys are clapping, clapping, clapping. And we have selected a movie, and we haven't did much advertisement about it. So those of you on the call, you can join us on Twitch. We'll say something about it real shortly. But the movie is a woman, Harriet, a woman called Moses. And so, I'm just eating it all up today. So I'm excited, and we want to carry it out, Dr. Lee, and wherever you need us to serve, and especially me being here in Texas with you, reach out. We're here. I come as 1K every time I come. So thank you. If you guys want to jump off, we're going to stay on a little bit and chit chat, but if you want to stay, you're welcome too. So
we still have some other little things for the people also,
yes,
Dr. Breach. So everyone, as Dr. Brescia said, we have our ambassadors program, where in the link I dropped a form, and that will be coming about. So this program is a pilot program that has not yet started, but we are looking for people. We also have, as she stated, our fellows program. This is for our young people. So if you have any young people who are looking to be civically engaged, but they do not have to have a major in political science, they can be and do whatever they want, but they just want to be engaged, then you can contact me. I will drop my information in the link as well. We also have, this year is the 60th anniversary of Selma, Bloody Sunday, the walk in Selma, and 1K will be doing multiple different things in Selma. So we want to make sure that you all are have the information with us. We also have, Dione, would you like to talk about it? Sure.
We will actually be in Selma, Miss Opal, the Selma Jubilee. They're going to be honoring her during those festivities in Selma. So we will definitely connect with you guys, but we will be there as well.
Yes, and we'll be also doing some great things with Dr. Lee. If you would like to actually, so the day that she will be honored, it is the Freedom Flame Awards on March 8th. And then we also plan to make sure that we are reading Dr. Lee's book to the young people. So that will probably be a closed thing because we'll be at schools. However, if you would like to come and be a part of all the festivities and know what 1K is doing, please get in contact with us. In the link, I will drop our bus. We do have a bus that is leaving from Lumpkin, Georgia, because we know rural people sometimes don't get the credit like the Atlantas. Nothing against you all from large cities, but we want to make sure that those who want to participate can participate. So if you would like, there is a bus leaving from Lumpkin, Georgia. It is $75, and it's so many different festivities that go on. You have lunch and you stop at a national museum. I will also drop that as well. And then lastly, we are going to be continuing conversations with wonderful individuals, Black women who are doing so many different things for us and about us. Our next one will be February 19th. We will be talking to two amazing Black women who decided to do like Dr. Lee, had a passion, saw something, and they have decided to start businesses that are in the healthcare, that are in healthcare. However, none of them had doctor or MD or any type of healthcare, quote unquote, background, but they saw a need and they wanted for our young people to be able to have different things. We have a talk on February 19th. So if you would like to be a part of that, we will drop that as well. But yes, yes, Dr. Lee.
Thank you, young people, the both of you. Just know that you are doing such a fabulous job, and I'm proud of you.
We thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.